Winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
And here he is filling in for the winner. This is Brian Sussman filling in for my friend, Dr. Michael Savage. Savage is back tomorrow. Borders, language, culture. That's what this race is all about, isn't it? Borders, language, culture. Borders, language, culture. If you don't have borders, you don't have a country. You need a language common to all men and women. You need a culture. You need an ethos. Borders, language, culture. That is America. And that is what Barack Obama has been trying to break down and been doing a damn good job of it for the last 7+ years. You want more of this? Go ahead. Go ahead. Don't vote. Don't vote. Don't vote. I'm a constitutional conservative. I'm principled. Okay, give it over to Hillary. Say what you want, folks. Yeah, I know Gary Johnson's running. Yeah, I know Dr. Jill Stein's running. Yeah, I know some of you are probably going to do write-ins. But at the end of the day, it's two people. It's Hillary and it's Donald Trump. That's what you got. Now, you want corruption? You want a continuation of what Barack Obama's been doing on steroids? Go for Hillary. Go for Hillary. Or don't vote at all. We got to stop this train wreck, folks. This is our country. Borders, language, culture. Can I just tell you something? First of all, go to michaelsavage.com. All the best news. The home of the Savage Nation. And while you're there, make sure you pre-order now Scorched Earth, Restoring the Country After Obama. It's Savage's next book. It's due out September 13th. It will be a bestseller guaranteed because all of his books are. Does he do this for the money? No. Does he do this because he loves this country? Yes. Does he do this because the guy doesn't eat or sleep or have a life and all he does is think about this stuff? Yes, in large measure. No, I've known Dr. Savage for a long time. In fact, I will just tell you right off the bat, as I often do whenever I get behind this microphone, I host the morning show, KSFO San Francisco. Many of you do listen to that online. It is the most listened to local morning show in the country, online. Local morning show in the country online, thanks to Savage. Because a lot of you go to KSFO.com to listen to Savage Live. And so you stick around, and before you know it, my show's on 5 to 9 a.m. with my sidekick, Katie Green. And we have a lot of fun on that program. We have a lot of laughs, a lot of information, news and views you won't find anywhere else. And it's a morning show, so we kind of try to lighten the load and give you a little smile. But I'll tell you something. It's hard to find smiles right now. It really is. But anyway, I was in television back in the day, and Savage came on KSFO. It's the mid-'90s. Michael Savage has his own show. They were just launching this all-conservative talk show in San Francisco. I thought, okay, I'll check this out. I loved Savage right off the bat. Can I tell you something? In the mid-'90s, his slogan was borders, language, culture. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. Except our country. And Michael's been warning about it since the mid-1990s. He was one of my inspirations for getting out of television, which was in at the time, and into radio. But Scorched Earth. Savage predicted this chaos. He's been predicting this now for over 20 years. And in this book, he's going to tell us whether this destruction can be stopped or not. So go to michaelsavage.com, pre-order. Done. Okay, so here we are. Just let's look at all the corruption that's before us. This is absolutely amazing. And how anybody who pays attention to the news could possibly support this woman. Oh, these are all just coincidences. Just coinky-dinks, that's all. So you have FBI files linking Hillary Clinton to the suicide of White House counsel Vince Foster vanishing from the National Archives. You just mentioned Vince Foster. Oh, my God, I can't believe you're going down that road. Conspiracy kook. Well, can I ask you a question? How did this happen? How did these files vanish from the National Archives? They're missing. They have gone missing. Why? Why? Is it about a right-handed guy, or a left-handed guy who was found with his suicide gun in the right hand? No, I think it's far more than that. This is just incredible. Okay, so you got that one. Nobody's talking about it. You think ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, you think they're going to talk about this? Fox News probably won't even touch this. Okay, so you've got that shocker. Then you've got Uma, Hillary's right-hand woman. Have you heard about this one? Is this getting the rounds? It should be. Hillary's top State Department aide. The woman who was not just double-dipping, but triple-dipping as far as I'm concerned. She leaves classified government information that was to be burned in the front seat of her vehicle. This is prison material here, folks. If this is true, this is prison material. Email, July 20th, 2009, to Lauren Gelati, Clinton's personal assistant. So it's Uma, the right-hand woman of Clinton, and I believe, if I'm getting all of this straight, she's actually in India when she writes this email back to the States to Gelati. So it's Uma to Gelati, Clinton's right-hand woman to Clinton's assistant, Gelati. It's entitled Favor. This is the subject line, Favor. I'm going to have Ambassador ride on the next drive. There's a bunch of burned stuff in the pocket of my front seat. Can you put in trunk? Burn stuff. Now, burn bags. So in other words, when something's so secret, so classified, so whatever, that you don't just shred it, you burn it, that's a pretty big deal, I would think. I don't know, I'm not in the government, but I'm just kind of thinking. I'm looking at the State Department on Foreign Affairs manual providing rules related to the burning of agency material and records. Burn bags must contain only classified material that is to be destroyed. Burn bags must contain only the classified material that is to be destroyed. There was a burn bag in her car. She forgot it. It's in the pocket of the front seat. Talk about sloppy with classified information. Now, in that same section I just read from, it also talks about the consequences for failing to safeguard personally identifiable information. It can lead to criminal prosecution. This is Uma. Now, this completely goes along with what FBI Director James Comey said, remember, last month, that Clinton used extremely careless tactics in handling classified information. I think this would be right up there. You haven't even heard about this story. The network's not going to cover this. I mean, the list goes on. It's on and on and on. Then we find out yesterday. I mean, Savage talked about this at length. This is just incredible. You had 55% of Hillary's meetings as Secretary of State were with Clinton Foundation donors? And I was listening to Savage as he talked about this. This is an AP story. And what we found out later was that the AP had been working on this story for 3 years, being stonewalled by Clinton and the administration and the foundation. But this was the line. I heard Savage read this yesterday, and I'm going to read it to you again. The meetings between the Democratic presidential nominee and foundation donors do not appear, Savage says it like that, do not appear to violate legal agreements Mrs. Clinton and former President Bill Clinton signed before she joined the State Department in 2009. They don't appear to. Well, of course they don't appear to. Because these people are slick attorneys with slick attorneys who got their back, and they speak the language of Satan in the Garden of Eden. It's just amazing. Of course they don't appear to. That's the way it was supposed to look. But this is as slimy as the day is long. Oh, it continues. It continues. Then you've got Hillary Clinton with another 15,000 emails that suddenly appear. And these emails are damning. I mean, folks, this is where Trump is just spot on. He needs to stay on this theme. Stay on the teleprompter. Stay on this theme. Okay, stay on this theme. Let's go ahead. Trump, cut one, please.
It is impossible to figure out where the Clinton Foundation ends and the State Department begins. It is now abundantly clear that the Clintons set up a business to profit from public office. They sold access and specific actions by and really for, I guess, the making of large amounts of money.
You know what would be amazing? On my morning show this morning in San Francisco on KSFO, I had a guest, Steve Moore. You've probably seen him as an economist. He appears on Fox News on a regular basis. He's with the Heritage Foundation. He is Trump's economic advisor. So I'm interviewing Steve, and Steve says, you know, when Donald Trump has that first debate, his first question should be regarding Hillary, the scandals, the lying, etc. Just throw that out there. And then this, you know, folks, this first debate's going to be like the Super Bowl in terms of audience. And then look at Hillary and look at the camera, as Trump can do oh so well, and say, Hillary, are you willing to take a polygraph? Right off the bat. I don't care what that inquisitor, the anchor, the moderator, I don't care what the first question is. That's where he should go right off the bat. Put her in the crosshairs right off the bat. That would be brilliant. Trump continues. This is on Fox News. Clip 2.
It's disgusting. It shouldn't be allowed. What's going on with Hillary Clinton? There is no justice in this country. There is no justice in this country. Zero. And for her to have the privilege or the right to run for president with what she's done, with deleting 33,000 emails, you can imagine what was on those emails. It is so sad, and the whole world is looking, and the whole world is laughing.
And Hillary, I ask you this question. Would you be willing to take a polygraph? Boom. All right, it's the Savage Nation. Brian Sussman filling in for Dr. Savage. Here's the phone number to call, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Don't forget to pre-order Dr. Savage's new book, Scorched Earth, and see all the latest headlines, michaelsavage.com.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
You're listening to Michael Savage. Coming up at 3, it's Mark Levin on Talk Radio 560 KSFO.
Brian Sussman filling in for Dr. Michael Savage on the Savage Nation. Don't forget the phone number, 855-400-7282. So we have Hillary Clinton, private meetings, 55% of the meetings she had as Secretary of State with people from outside the government were indeed were donors to the Clinton Foundation. By the way, it's amazing. You know, I'm listening to some of these jokers, like this Tim Kaine guy, the guy that's running for vice president. I'll never forget, I was watching the Democrat National Convention. My wife walks in the room. She glances at the screen, says, "Who's that comedian? He's not very funny." Then she just walked away because he looked like the crappy comedian you'd see at a comedy club in some small town somewhere who's the opening act. He was trying to be funny. It wasn't working. He's a goofy little guy. Anyway, he's out there. The goofy little guy's out there saying, "Oh, Clinton Foundation, world-class charity, I tell you." This is on Fox News. Clip 4, please. Clip 4.
The Clinton Foundation is a nonprofit organization that is a world-class charity. It's provided life-saving AIDS drugs to 11.5 million people. And all the donors to the foundation have been disclosed. And the foundation has said, I'll go further, will restructure itself completely if Hillary Clinton is elected president. Yeah. That's a pledge.
Think about this. Why didn't they do that when she was Secretary of State? Her whole job as Secretary of State was dealing with foreign countries. Oh, we're going to change it now. Bill Clinton comes out saying that Monday because he knew on Tuesday the AP would be having their blockbuster story, which would blow the whistle and all this. So now they send out Tim Kaine. Hey, Timmy, tell them we're a world-class foundation. Can I tell you something? In terms of the Clinton Foundation, the Clinton Global Initiative, I happen to know of organizations associated with having received money from the Clinton Global Initiative that actually do good work. But it's a fraction of what they bring in. This is a slush fund. This is an opportunity for the Clintons to make big-time bank with these speaking engagements and then using the foundation to live large. Oh, but they don't take a salary. Well, not one that we can see, but the way they live, their lifestyle, the perks that go along with it. Give me a break. And all the tax deductions as well. Okay, they made $10 million last year, gave $1 million to charity. That's 10%. Who'd they give the 10% to? To the Clinton Family Foundation. Who'd the Clinton Family Foundation give money to? To the Clinton Foundation. Follow the money. It's all legal. But it's highly unethical. And by the way, in terms of charity, the best I can tell from tax returns from 2013, this outfit gave maybe 10, maybe 15% to charity. Come on, man. So I'm saying first debate. Well, actually, I'm not saying. Well, listen, we'll talk more. I actually am saying this. I've got a little bit of time left to this segment. What I'm saying is something that somebody told me this morning on my morning radio show in San Francisco. Steve Moore tells me, first question Donald Trump should ask Hillary Clinton during the debate. First debate, first question, opening minutes. Hillary, would you take a polygraph? Oh, to put her on the spot like that? It's a no-win. It's a no-win. Here's Mike, WFTL. Mike, quickly, please. Thanks for calling the Savage Nation. You're on the air with Brian Sussman.
Hey, Brian. Thanks for taking the call. There's only one major flaw with the silver bullet theory, and that is that Hillary would turn the question right around on Trump and say, sure, I'll take the polygraph the minute you do.
Sure, and that's what I'm sure she would do that because she's slick. But at the same time, Trump would say, but I wasn't involved with state secrets. I wasn't involved with the United States of America and dealing with these countries in official capacity. I'm just a business guy. And I think he'd diffuse it pretty darn quick. Glad to be here on this, The Savage Nation. Brian Sussman filling in for Dr. Savage, who is back tomorrow. 855-400-SAVAGE. Brian Sussman filling in on this, The Savage Nation. MichaelSavage.com. You can go there to subscribe to the Savage newsletter. And also pre-order the new book, Scorched Earth, and see all the latest headlines. Some of those I'm going to get into in just a moment. You know, it's amazing. We were talking about another story that's just not making the news cycle. It's huge. The media is so in the tank for Hillary, and they're so out to destroy Trump. I've never seen anything like this, and neither have you. Donald Trump, hated by the establishment in large part on the right, and certainly the left, hated by the world elite, the power elite that meets at Davos and Council on Foreign Relations and the Bilderbergers and all those groups, and hated by the media. They don't want this guy to rock the boat. I mean, they're afraid of him. And then there's Hillary. They just won't report on the stuff going on with her. But I was sharing this information just a moment ago. I think this is a fascinating story. This is Uma, her right-hand woman. This is a Daily Caller story. That's where I found out about it. I'm seeing it in some other locations as well. But this has to do with emails released on Monday. You know, we had this 15,000 emails. Oh, suddenly they appear out of nowhere. And we have Uma writing a letter to Lauren Gelati, Clinton's personal assistant. So, right-hand lady to another right-hand lady asking for a favor. Quote, there's a bunch of burned stuff in the pocket of my front seat. In other words, these are documents that need to be burned. Burned. Can you put them in the trunk? This is the email. It's like, I left my cell phone in the front seat of the car. Could you put it in the trunk? My purse, my jacket. I mean, in San Francisco, you can't leave anything in your car because it'll get broken into. I'm not kidding. So I could see that happening in San Francisco. Hey, honey, you know something? I parked the car on the street. Could you just make sure that, I don't know what, my gym bag. Yeah, my gym bag. Could you just put it in the trunk, please? Otherwise, it'll get broken into. It's kind of like this. We got a burn bag, classified information. Put it in the trunk. Now, I read to you earlier a section from the State Department denoting what happens, the consequences for screwing up like this. you could be criminally prosecuted, and you should be. And people have for far less. This is Ray calling from San Francisco, KSFO. Ray, you're on the Savage Nation. Brian Sussman filling in. Go ahead, please.
Hi there. Yes, I just wanted to say that I hear all this stuff going on about the emails with Clinton, and I've been a security rep at a government agency before I was kind of forced into retirement. I try to do the correct thing with handling that material, that type of material before, and what they did is the director and them turned on me, and then basically my career went to hell after that. So these people do what they want in the government, even at the local levels, and I was Department of Defense, and so I've seen it. Now, I heard that Loretta Lynch said this case is basically over against Hillary, and then the president came out and backed her. Well, guess what, folks? That's it. She will not, in my experience, 30-something years of the government, she will not be convicted for anything like that.
Now, Ray, what if Trump becomes president and you maintain a Republican Congress, and there was a special prosecutor that was hired to go after you? Then do you think there might be a chance?
No, absolutely not. Once the president of the United States has stood behind her, absolutely not. And remember also that as you leave an office, he can forgive. He has the power to forgive any crimes he wants to. Remember, Bill Clinton was impeached at one time. A lot of people don't even remember that, and he was forgiven. The government does what they want. They have their own police force, and if you come along and try to do well, they will get you, like they did me and a couple other employees that worked for the government.
Ray, I've heard this from guys. How long were you working for the federal government?
Years.
How many years? I'm sorry. How many?
36 years.
Okay, I've heard this from other career employees like yourself, who have said if their lips are moving, they're lying to you. They've been so many years of faithful service, so many years of believing in the red, white, and blue, so many years doing their things. And I'm thinking of guys like yourself in defense in some way, shape, or form, who come away so defeated and so disheartened about what's going on in the bowels of government. It sounds like you're obviously one of those guys.
Yes, I left. Myself and a couple friends walked out. That's how I ended my career. Walked out in tears, threw my stuff in a box, and they were happy to see me go. I was actually the security rep handling all that stuff. And a couple of times they tried to mislead me to leave security documentation out. I called headquarters. Headquarters called them, covered for them, and they turned on me and basically ruined my career.
Ray, appreciate you checking in here on the Savage Nation. Now, here's another one for you. The Obama administration will tell Congress how it paid Iran $1.7 billion in taxpayer funds. This was that Iran deal, which is one of the worst deals in American history, best I can tell. How could we possibly go into some kind of a deal like this with a bunch of crazy religious fanatics who seek our destruction at the end of the day, who are state sponsors of terror the world over? How do we do this? So now the Obama administration is, have you heard about this? I'm reading about it at the Free Beacon. So the Obama administration is withholding from Congress details about how $1.3 billion in U.S. taxpayer funds was delivered to Iran. We know about the other $400 million. That was the $400 million that just, all coincidence, arrives in an unmarked cargo plane on the tarmac in Tehran just as the hostages are about to be released. $400 million cash on a pallet. What the? So now you got members of Congress say, okay, so what about the other $1.3 billion? Because altogether this is a $1.7 billion deal. What about the other $1.3 billion? Where's that? How did that happen? So we don't know. We don't know. The State Department said it does not know how the remaining $1.3 billion, this is all taxpayer money, was transferred to, how it was transferred or to whom it was transferred. We don't know. State Department spokesman claimed Monday not to know how or to whom the residual $1.3 billion was transferred, although they do know the transaction happened. Well, we don't know, but we know. I don't know, but we do know. We don't know. Okay, then listen to this. You've got an investigative reporter with the New York Sun, Claudia Rosette. She does some awesome work. While the administration has remained silent about the circumstances surrounding the payment, Rosette says the Treasury Department transferred just under $1.3 billion to the State Department in 13 large identical sums. So was this so it wouldn't be tracked? Each one of these payments was 99. Now listen to this, is just incredible. Just incredible. So each one of these, $99,999,999.99. So just a penny under the amount each and every time. How does this happen? How does this happen? 13 of those payments. Well, I don't know who it went to. I don't even know where it came from. I don't even know how it got there. What? So you've got that. Now another story. This involves Donald Trump. Let me give you another one for you. This is Trump's new campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway. I remember Kellyanne, she's a pollster. I remember she would come on our morning program years and years ago. She's a really, really smart lady. She was working for the Cruz campaign. I mean, she was running his campaign. So all you never Trumpers out there, I'll never, I'm a constitutional conservative, damn it. I'm principled. Well, guess what? I want to win. Kellyanne Conway was his main lady. She's come on the Trump train. If she's come on the Trump train, maybe you should think about it. Jeez. You got Steve Moore. He was the economic advisor for Cruz. He's on the Trump train. Anyway, his new campaign manager, I think she's hit on something here. She insists, again, she's a pollster, so I think she has her finger on the pulse. She insists that the undercover Trump voter will power Trump to victory. Take a listen to this. Here she is. This would be clip 10. This is from UK Channel 4, clip 10.
Donald Trump performs consistently better in online polling, where a human being is not talking to another human being about what he or she may do in the election. It's because it's become socially desirable, especially if you're a college-educated person in the United States of America, to say that you're against Donald Trump. The hidden Trump vote in this country is a very significant proposition. It's a project we're doing internally. I call it the undercover Trump voter, but it's real.
Yeah, it is real. Now, listen, I know I'm talking here to the Savage Nation. You people are all over the country. I'm in a very liberal cocoon called San Francisco, or as Savage likes to call it, San Francisco. San Francisco. If you cannot drive through San Francisco with a Trump sticker on the back of your car. You can't unless you want to get cussed out, flipped off, unless you want to park your car and come back to see it vandalized. That's what's going to happen here. If you're in the Silicon Valley and you're working for one of the major firms and you come out saying you're a Trump supporter, okay, good luck with business. I'm just telling you, out here, you're not going to talk about voting for Trump. You're just not going to do it. And I'm sure that in many large cities around America run by Democrats, it's the same thing. You're just not going to talk about it. You'll tell people I'm not voting for Hillary, but you won't say you're going to vote for Trump. It was like that. I was visiting some friends in Chicago 2 weekends ago. And a very successful guy involved in real estate was there. Said, I'm not voting for Hillary, so who are you going to vote for? I'm not telling you. Who are you going to vote for? I'm not saying. Say one good thing about Trump. I'm not saying. Just leave me alone. I'm not saying anything. I'll tell you that I'm not voting for Hillary, but I'm not going to tell you. I think that's the undercover voter she's talking about. And by the way, those same undercover voters, think about this. Think about this. When that pollster calls your house just as you're sitting down to eat dinner, you know, that phone call, who's more likely to hang up on the pollster? The conservative or the liberal? I'm just saying. I get those phone calls. I don't care if it's from the RNC. I don't care if it's from Team Trump. I will hang up immediately. I don't care. You're like that too. Many of you are. So the polls are skewed, and they don't pick up these undecided voters, the decided voters who won't tell you that they're going to vote for Trump just because. There are a lot of people like that, I'm convinced. So I think Kellyanne Conway's got that one exactly right. Let's go to Jonathan, WABC. Jonathan, you're on the Savage Nation. Thanks for checking in. Brian Sussman filling in.
Brian, I think that Trump is hitting some of the right notes on this corruption with Hillary Clinton, but I think he's also missing a very important point. And I think that is the disrespect to the American people. Every single step of the way, all these things that are going wrong, the ransom, it's not really a ransom. Tuba Aberdeen talking to Mr. Ban. Oh, it's just the top aides talking. Hillary had nothing to do with that. She's staying away from the foundation. All these sort of little things. Tuba Aberdeen, she was just on the masthead. That's not getting a lot of coverage either. Just imagine if Donald Trump's top aide was on the masthead of a Klan, magazine, where the uproar would be. She was just, she was a figurehead of some sort. All these things that keep adding up, poo-pooing and making fun of the emails when she lied to the American people, lied to the FBI. I mean, this is a disrespecting the American people and defining our government down, deviation in our government down. Shouldn't we expect the same amount of responsibility and liability to the same individuals in government as we would in corporate America?
Jonathan, you're spot on. This is more than corruption. This is a disrespect, a total disrespect for the American citizen. I appreciate you to bringing that forth here on the Savage Nation. Brian Sussman filling in. We're about to take a break, but when we come back, let's talk about this disrespect. Where does that come from? That comes from the ultra-uber-liberal Marxian mindset. It really does. It really does. That comes right from the bowels of Karl Marx. It really does. We'll talk about that. And then, Uma on the masthead. What's that all about? So glad you are here. Brian Sussman filling in on this, the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
It's the Savage Nation. Brian Sussman filling in for Dr. Savage. He's back tomorrow. Coming up in the next hour, I'm going to talk about Scorched Earth. Savage's new book. It's out mid-September. Restoring the Country After Obama. I'll tell you all about this book, and I will encourage you to pre-order a copy at michaelsavage.com. We'll also talk about something we were beginning to develop in the last segment. That's this inherent disrespect, this disregard, this looking down the nose at anybody with a right-thinking brain in their head. This is what the left does. They just marginalize you. You're a peon. You're dumb. You're stupid. Why do they do that? Where does that come from? We'll talk about that. We've also got to talk about a couple other things. Trump's appearing tonight in Mississippi. He's going to be with the leading Brexiteer, Nigel Farage. I mean, this is the Brexit leader. So the Brexit leader will be in the United States with Trump. Now, he's not necessarily going to endorse Trump, but is this perhaps a sign that foreign leaders could be rallying for a Trump presidency? I mean, it's an excellent question, and what we're going to develop in the next hour here on The Savage Nation. Oh, it's just a shame, isn't it? Those commercial flights are just too burdensome for Hillary Clinton. Instead of flying between New York and Washington, D.C. like a common person, Hillary wants Air Force One to fly her. Then we learned about this past weekend. Oh, she's over in Martha's Vineyard, and she's got to travel 20 miles. She needs to do that in a private jet. What's wrong with this woman anyway? I mean, you really have to wonder what's wrong with her. Besides a power trip complex that she wants to fully engage by becoming president of the United States, and we've got to stop her. Brian Sussman here. More to come. By the way, follow Michael on Twitter at @ASavageNation. This is The Savage Nation.
Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
It's the Savage Nation. Brian Sussman filling in for Dr. Savage. He's back tomorrow. Go to michaelsavage.com. Get all the latest headlines. Subscribe to the Savage newsletter. And also pre-order Savage's new book, Scorched Earth. So Savage has been predicting the chaos that we're seeing right now in the United States of America. He's been predicting it. That's going to be the Obama legacy. And now he tells us whether or not the destruction can be stopped in Scorched Earth, subtitle, Restoring the Country After Obama. I mean, this has been 8 years. So Savage lays out what I would say is an irrefutable case for how our nation has been undermined by terrorists, by anarchists, by politicians with contempt for the Constitution, and by a complicit liberal media. What do we do now? What do we do now? Well, in the book Scorched Earth, you learn why Donald Trump may be one of the best hopes for America. Actually, I think the way Savage does it, there are two best hopes for America. There's Donald Trump, and the other hope, you, the people. Motivated, roused, and engaged. Scorched Earth, michaelsavage.com. It's amazing, isn't it? These leftists look at us like we're, mental midgets. This all comes from the bowels of Marx, I will just tell you for a moment. Karl Marx had the laws of matter, M-A-T-T-E-R, laws of matter. And if you were to sum up those laws of matter in a nutshell, it would come down to this. Some people are born with a better brain than others. And those with the better brain have some sort of responsibility, metaphysical responsibility, societal responsibility to basically rule over those with the lesser brain, because those with the lesser brain, that would be us, in their eyes, us, left to our own devices, will kill one another and destroy the planet. Therefore, heavy-duty rules, regulations, government. Liberty? Oh, that's a notion of folly that those fools believe in. We will show them otherwise. And in the process, what do they want to do? And Savage addresses this. They want to obliterate the American ethos, obliterate Western culture. That's what's going on with this refugee crisis. That's what's going on with the southern border. Okay, case in point. I'm at michaelsavage.com right now. Click on this story. Report. 30,000 illegal immigrants came from countries of terrorist concern. What? Did you see this one on the front page of your newspaper today? No. So now we're finding out, 2015 alone, this is 2015, last year, over 30,000 illegal immigrants from countries of terrorist concern entered the United States through our border with Mexico. Now, come on, why don't we want a wall? Why wouldn't we want a wall? Did you just hear what I said? I know there are liberals curiously listening to the program. Over 30,000 illegal immigrants coming through Mexico into the United States came from countries of terrorist concern. They weren't here to pick lettuce, okay? They weren't here. We're talking people from Afghanistan, Pakistan, all over the Middle East, Eastern Africa. Why? 30,000. And these are just the ones we caught. Who are these people? What a major trek. I mean, come on. Coming from the Middle East all the way through Mexico and into California, into California, Arizona, Texas. 30,000 of them from countries of terrorist concern. That's why we need, come on, that's why we need the wall. Get a brain. Jeez. So this is our big, this is a huge story. This is a huge story. Another story that's not making the rounds. I mean, here's Uma on the masthead, right? On the masthead of this journal that preaches Sharia. And her mom is the chief editor. Now, how does that work? I mean, if indeed, have you thought about this? Here's Uma, right? Right-hand woman to Hillary. There's this big push to bring all of these Muslims into this country. Now, I'm with Trump. I heard him say it yesterday. I want people coming into this country who want to be here. I want people coming into this country who essentially want to bleed red, white, and blue. who love our Constitution more than they love other things. They want to be a part of the American ethos, a part of the American experience. That's the folks I want here. But if Sharia is at the top of your list and it trumps all, Constitution, American flag, everything, this is not the place for you. There are 57 other countries where I think you'd feel right at home. So we don't need you here. But why is there this push to bring them here? Why? And where does Uma fit into all of this? So let's just say for a second, if she were a radical Muslim, well, we know she's a Muslim, but if she were a radical Muslim woman, what a great way to be undercover. You go to work for the woman who's going to break through the glass ceiling. You don't wear any of the Muslim garb. You find yourself a husband who's like your beard. I mean, get a Jewish guy. Yeah, see, what kind of a serious Muslim am I? I've got a Jewish husband. Guy's name's Anthony Weiner. This is the kind of stuff that novels are made from. This is amazing. So we've got that going on. And no one's talking about that. No, we wouldn't want to talk about that. We got to talk about other stuff. There's other stuff in the news to talk about. Okay, let me give you other stuff in the news. Climate change. Not targeting children. Oh, of course. You know, they tax your house, they tax your car, they tax your income. Now you know what they want to tax? They want to tax you for having children. Global warming alarmist. It's a story at WorldNet Daily. A carbon tax for population engineering. This is where they want to go. So you got 3 professors who wrote this paper. One's from Johns Hopkins. 2 are from Georgetown. Population engineering and the fight against climate change. These guys argue there should be a global policy response to the threat of dangerous climate change that must incorporate population engineering. So they'll look at your net worth and they'll tax you accordingly. They'll look at your net worth and tax you accordingly. They say it's morally justifiable, I'm quoting, to exert greater pressure on wealthy people's procreation behaviors. This is where they want to go. Now, WND, God bless them, interviewed me for this. Let me see here. Global warming is just another excuse for the left to advocate for less families, says Brian Sussman, a meteorologist and talk show host and author of ClimateGate and Eco-Tyranny. He argues climate activists are simply assuming their theory is correct without having the evidence to prove it. Here's what I said. At the heart of the environmental movement is a ghoulish quest to reduce the planet's population. When asked, I put it here, eco-activists will admit abortion is part of their solution, but a campaign to encourage women to have fewer children is also required. However, when caught in a candid moment, these eco-activists will also admit that famine, disease, or even casualties of war are less favorable alternatives that could complete their objective. Folks, do you hear what I'm saying here? These crazies, these population engineers, these people who believe there are 3 times as many people on Earth today than is sustainable. That's what they will tell you. There are 3 times too many. So how do we get rid of all those people? Abortion, Encouraging people to have fewer children, yeah. But we need something big. We need something really big. So if it were famine, if it were disease, or even war, less favorable, but this could complete the objective. This is because, and WorldNet Daily quotes me here, this is because the committed activists believe the current population of the Earth is 3 times greater than what is sustainable. That's what they believe. That's what Obama believes. I dang bet you that's what Hillary believes as well. That's what Hillary believes. 855-400-SAVAGE is the number, 855-400-SAVAGE. Larry is checking in from WJR. Larry, thanks for calling the Savage Nation. You're on the air with me, Brian Sussman. Go ahead, please.
Everybody is upset because Donald Trump wants to close the borders, as if it's never happened before. If I am correct in what I read, I think it was the 1940s, that Ellis Island was closed for a number of years to allow people to assimilate to the American culture. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, there was a period of time, and I think there have been a couple periods of time, and, well, certainly there have been many periods in American history where we've limited the number of legal immigrants coming into this country, and we did a serious job of trying to keep illegal immigrants out. But you're right, there was a pause so that we could allow those from Europe who have time to assimilate into this country and get a grip on the American experience before we allowed more in. It seems sane to me.
Then why is it not brought up more that this is not a new, in quotation marks, idea or thought that, and Trump is so, they're jumping on Donald because of this. Why aren't they bringing this up that, hey, this is not new. This is something that needs to be done to make, the country whole again.
Make the country safe again. Make the country whole again. Make the country sane again. Make the country, here I go, American again. Larry, thanks for your call. Let's get more calls on that topic. 855-400-SAVAGE. Then I just have to ask you this question. When you do, a lot of Trump supporters listening. So if I were to ask you, why are you voting for Trump, you would be able to give me lickety-split, probably 3 or 4 answers like that. When you ask somebody why they're voting for Hillary, what's the common response? I don't think there is one. What do they generally say? Do they say something lame like, well, it's about time we have somebody break through the glass ceiling? What does that mean? We'll talk about that as well. Brian Sussman filling in on this, The Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
That's the Savage Nation. Brian Sussman filling in for Dr. Savage. I'm on KSFO in San Francisco, Michael Savage's flagship station. I host the morning show where Savage is oftentimes a guest. He'll be back tomorrow. Pre-order Savage's new book, Scorched Earth. We'll talk more about that. Also follow him on Twitter at @SavageNation. 855-400-SAVAGE is the number, 855-400-7282. Just talk about Trump's immigration policy. Joe checking in, WMAL. Joe, you're on the air. Thanks for checking in on the Savage Nation.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Brian. Hey, I don't believe Trump's legal immigration policy even goes far enough. I mean, I do think building a wall is a good first start, but I think the illegal immigration issue has gotten so out of control that we should even put at least a 2-year halt on legal immigration, and I would take every single immigration officer, every single immigration field agent, every single immigration clerk, I would put them out in the field, and I would not restart legal immigration back into the United States until all the visa overstays have been found and deported back to their home country, and until most of the illegals out of here without documentation have been found. I do not.
I mean, Joe, that makes sense. That's how you keep America safe. You keep America safe again, right? This is not being mean-spirited. It's not being discriminatory. It's not being hateful. It's about common sense and fixing what the politicians have allowed to become, broken. It's been blasted to smithereens. Our immigration system is so corrupt, so out of whack, so out of balance. I think you just proposed a great first step.
Yeah, I'm 52 years old, and I think I'm living in the twilight zone because up until about 10 years ago, it was just normal SOP, normal standard operating procedure to find illegal aliens and deport them back to their home country. I mean, only in the last, 10, 15 years have all of a sudden we've seen this shift towards, it's not humane to, pick up illegal aliens and deport them. I honestly don't understand it.
Joe, thanks for your call. This is what Savage talks about in Scorched Earth. This is all purposeful. It's hard for, Joe and Joette's six-pack out there, or the Eddies, as Savage likes to refer, just regular people. It's hard for you to understand that there are people that so hate this country. They hate American exceptionalism. They want to obliterate Western history. I mean, look at our schools today. Go to most college campuses. You can't find any courses on Western history. They're embarrassed about Western history. You can't find any of that. The American ethos, they think, is a joke. Waving the flag, they think, is ridiculous. These are the people who have been running this country. So you want to take that out another 4 or 8 years? Okay, well then just stay never Trump. Unbelievable. So you've got that. And then you've got this. I'm looking at this story right now. Yesterday, Savage was talking about this. We were all talking about it. The New York Times, I should say, the Clinton Foundation, and how Hillary, 85 of the 154 people who got an audience with Hillary while she led the State Department had donated to the charity. And it's as close to pay for play as you could ever possibly. It's the pay to play smoking gun. Come on. But as soon as the story broke, I was just looking throughout the course of the day. No one was running with it. No one. And now I'm reading a story illustrating the fact that even the New York Times has refused to run with this story. This story was conducted by the Associated Press. The left heralds the Associated Press as one of the vanguards of the First Amendment. Left as they may be. The New York Times wouldn't even run with the story. Another example of pay to play? My gosh. All right, there's more to come. So glad you're with us. Brian Sussman, always a thrill to be filling in the big chair, as we like to call it, on this, the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Well, here we go. Brian Sussman filling in for Dr. Michael Savage on the Savage Nation. It's always a thrill to get behind this microphone and speak to the nation, the Savage Nation, and collect all your calls at 855-400-7282, 855-400-7282. Well, we were just talking with a caller about Donald Trump's immigration policies and putting a hold on legal immigration. Now, that's what Donald Trump hasn't said that, but there was a caller who said, I don't believe Trump's going far enough. We need to put a hold on legal immigration. And I would be of that mindset. I mean, we do have millions of people here, so many millions, we don't even know how many millions, of people who here have overstayed their visas. They're now here illegally. Maybe they mean to commit no crime, but they've already committed a crime because they've violated the terms of their visa. They've overstayed. They're not supposed to be here. So I think we need to find out who those people are. Certainly anybody in this country who entered the country illegally and committed a crime in the process, we need to make arrangements for them to never come back. I don't know if that includes biometric scanning. I don't know what. But you're telling me we can't do this? We put people on the moon in the 60s. You're telling me we can't do this? You're telling me we can't have a good border? We can't have screening processes? We can't do this? Of course we can. But nobody wants to. Nobody wants to on both sides of the aisle. And isn't it ridiculous, my friends? Think about this. The same people, the same politicians on both sides of the aisle who are now out there saying we're going to fix the problem are the same politicians who got us into this mess. And they always talk a tough game right about now when they're out there talking to their constituents just prior to re-election. I know there are some good eggs, but I know there are a lot of rotten ones. Patricia is calling from California, San Francisco Bay Area, it appears. Now, Patricia, you're saying it's not fair to put a hold on legal immigration. Thanks for joining us on the Savage Nation.
Hi, Brian. I have a cousin who is trying to immigrate here from Chile. She's a nurse. She's been waiting in line patiently, and she's losing heart. And I think that I appreciate what the other caller said about trying to have the current people who are here acclimate to our environment and become American and to stop immigration. I feel what he's saying because everything has gone amok. However, I don't think we should punish those people who have been waiting in line. This sounds really closely to me how gun owners, responsible gun owners, are being punished by restrictive laws for people who don't follow the laws. So that was my point.
Well, listen, I appreciate your point, and you're certainly welcome to it. I think, I know it's a tiny little country, but there are other countries like this. And if there was ever a country who is concerned about its security, it's Switzerland. Switzerland is surrounded by other countries. It's a tiny country that could be overrun in a heartbeat. They've played the game interestingly with their international banks, etc., I'm sure, to curry favor with outside interests. But what Switzerland also is very concerned about is immigration. I know this for a fact because I have a son who's in love with a girl from Switzerland. It's a long story, but they met over here in the States. And my son's gone to Switzerland to visit her, and she's a wonderful girl, and I hope someday they get married. But trying to immigrate to Switzerland, good luck. Good luck. Good luck. He went over there for an internship initially. He was there for a 3-month internship. Just to get this internship, the group that was hosting him for this internship had to prove that there was no one else in the country that could do his job even as an intern. They are so particular about not taking jobs away from their own people. And they want to make sure that nobody comes into that country and becomes a public charge in any way, shape, or form. Now, I realize that's a tiny little country. But you know what? We're a large, great country. Shouldn't we be concerned about those same things? Shouldn't we be concerned about jobs? I want to make sure there's nobody coming into this country that's going to be taking a job away from somebody looking for a job in this country. This is where Trump's hitting it when he's talking to, quote-unquote, minority communities about employment. Look at all the people who've come into this country illegally and have taken away your job. We could make the same case, I guess, for the H-1 visas. We're bringing in cheap labor to work in this country when, in fact, there may be Americans who could do the same job. I think these are all fair questions. But more importantly, the people coming into this country, I mean, the conversation started with this news story I saw at michaelsavage.com. 30,000 people coming across the southern border last year that we caught who are from countries where there are terrorists. We're talking countries in the Middle East and Africa. How did they get there? George is checking in from WABC. George, thanks for calling the Savage Nation. Brian Sussman here.
Good afternoon, Brian. A quick sidebar to the expired visas. Go one step further and prosecute with financial fines or criminal imprisonment to the sponsors. Let them cough them up. But I called about Australia. When you try to migrate to Australia, they ask you what occupation you have and what are you going to bring to the Australian economy.
Right, and there probably is also, I know it's this way in New Zealand, I'm guessing it's the same thing in Australia, they also want to see money in the bank, and a lot of it. Correct?
We do that. We used to do that with Ellis Island, but not anymore.
Yeah. It's it's not hateful, it's not mean-spirited, it's sane. It's 2016. We have this thing called terrorism. Now, I know Joe Biden's out there saying, oh, terrorism's not an existential threat to the United States. Oh, really? Really? Here, in fact, let's go to that. Robert, let's go to this particular clip that you prepared for me. This is Joe Biden saying terrorism's not an existential threat to the United States. This is the most overused, meaningless cliche. He's on MSNBC. Clip 13, please.
Terrorism is a real threat, but it's not an existential threat to the existence of the democratic country of the United States of America. It can cause real problems. It can undermine confidence. It can kill a relatively large number of people. But it's not an existential threat.
Jeez, this term existential threat, most people, I don't even know what it means, really. I guess it means the total annihilation of the United States of America. Is that what he's saying here? You know, it can kill relatively large numbers of people. Okay, that's bad enough. I don't want these people in my country, and neither should you. But if existential threat means the annihilation of America as we know it, guess what? With this refugee program, that's the existential threat. Hillary Clinton wants to up the ante on refugees by how many hundreds of a percent? I think Trump said something like 500%. I don't know if that's true or not, but I know she wants to increase it. But what happens with these refugees? Oh, I'll sound like a xenophobe now. Folks, your average American nowadays, the kid coming out of school, millennials, I saw some polling earlier this week. Millennials don't even want to have kids. Millennials don't want to have kids. The kids coming out of some of the universities in this country, they don't want to have kids. They don't want to increase their carbon footprint, just like that story we were talking about earlier in the program. They don't want to increase the carbon footprint that they would be responsible for. So I don't want to have extra kids. I don't want to have any kids. Okay, so that's the white American. No extra kids. Maybe the average millennial's good for 0.5 children now. But the refugees, they're good for 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or more. So you start doing the math on that and just take us out a generation. Oh, you're going to have little jihadis in the city councils. You'll have in the state legislatures. You'll have them representing Congress. And then slowly but surely they will become an existential threat without firing a shot. Now, if you think I'm crazy here, and I know some listening probably do, can I just share with you a quote? It's probably pretty close to being an exact quote. It's in my memory bank. It's Yasser Arafat. Yasser Arafat, founder of the Palestine Liberation Organization. Yasser Arafat, the guy that was responsible for the bombings of the 1972, or the shootings at the 72 Olympics, which sadly most people don't even remember. Yasser Arafat, the guy that refined the art of airplane hijacking, okay? That Yasser Arafat. He once said, "The womb of the Arab woman is my best weapon." That's pretty darn close to an exact quote. The womb of the Arab woman is my best weapon. So, okay, start bringing them in. Start bringing them in. American ethos, American schmethos. They'll come to this country. They'll use their wombs as a weapon, and they'll become an existential threat without having fired a shot. Bingo. Whoops. There it is. Joe Biden, you got it wrong. Big time. Big time. So we'll talk about that. We will talk about that. So many other things to talk about. For some of those, you can just go to michaelsavage.com. All the top stories are there. Also, pre-order a copy of Scorched Earth. That's the title of the book, Scorched Earth, Restoring the Country After Obama. So this one is released September 13th, but you can pre-order a copy now, and I highly recommend you do it. We've got to get the word out on this book as much as possible prior to this election. You can also subscribe to the Savage newsletter at michaelsavage.com. Other stories that we're looking at, and there are so many when we come back. We've got to talk about Hillary Clinton and what Trump's been saying. And he needs to stay on message with this. He's saying there is no justice in this country. This woman's not only crooked, but she's a liar. Now, when you talk to the average Trump supporter, what do they say? What do they want from Trump? I want our borders to be secure. What do they say? I want jobs coming back to America. What do they say? I want corruption to be gone from Washington, D.C. When you talk to the Hillary supporter, why are you voting for Hillary? What do they say? What do they say? Oh, well, it's about time we have a woman in the White House. What do they say? We need to see that glass ceiling broken. What do they say? What do they say? This is why the woman's spent well over $150 million trying to define Trump, and she's not been able to do so and not sell her message to the American public. And with all that money spent, and they tell you, oh, the polls are getting tight, that means the polls are starting to slip for this woman big, big time. We'll talk more about that. 855-400-SAVAGE. That's 855-400-7282. Brian Sussman filling in on this, The Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Brian Sussman filling in for Michael Savage. He's back tomorrow. Proud to be the morning guy on the station that's Savage's flagship station, KSFO in San Francisco, where I do a morning show with my sidekick, Katie Green, who has just gotten in touch with me. I guess Yasser Arafat, founder of the Palestine Liberation Organization, a terrorist, actually referred to the Arab womb, the Muslim womb, as a biological weapon. Biological weapon. One of his quotes, "The womb of an Arab woman is my best weapon." A biological weapon. So when you bring in all these refugees, folks, listen, they are long-suffering. You know, here in the United States, what we think quarter by quarter, I'm not talking 25 cents. I mean, the American business is thinking quarterly. That's kind of how we all think, month to month, quarterly. Got your mortgage payment every month, got your car payment. If you're a business person, you're paying taxes quarterly. We think short term. We think very, very short term. But other cultures, you see, outside of the Western world, are long-suffering. So if it takes 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, hey, we will overpopulate them, and then they will be subject to us. I'm just saying. If it's so great in terms of the economy, I just ask you this question. More Americans, more adult Americans are living with their parents and grandparents these days. So this we haven't seen since, well, a long time. Both the number and share of Americans living in multi-generational family households has continued to rise. New study, Pew Research Center, left-leaning. 2014, a record 60 million people, or 19% of the United States population, lived in a multi-generational household. Now, of course, two things. One, that would be common for people from other cultures. But again, the American dream was, you know, you grow up, you get married, you get a house, you separate, you do your own thing. How much of this is driven by the economy? The economy, which we're told is just so darn rosy these days. I mean, inquiring minds want to know. And how is Trump going to fix the economy? I mean, it gets back to what we were talking about earlier, if you're just joining us. I'll catch you up. When you ask the Hillary supporter, why are you voting for Hillary? What do they say? Well, 'cause I'm for abortion. Okay. Because I want to see a woman in the White House. Okay. Come on, can you give me something else here? Give me something else I can deal with. Because there's not a lot there. When you ask a Trump supporter why you're voting for Trump, I mean, it really comes back to, if I could just sum it up, borders, language, culture. That's it. Making America great again. Now, the left will say, oh, yeah, making America hate again. No, it's, hey, let's all be wonderfully employed again. Let's all be making money again. Let's all be looking towards the future with excitement again. Let's all be confident in the fact that we have a military that can kick anybody's butt right now, should they ever cause any trouble with us. I mean, let's seal off that border and keep the bad guys out and keep everybody safe again. I mean, there are a multitude of things that people see in Trump, but from Hillary, I'm just kind of waiting. Maybe somebody could help me out. Brian Sussman filling in on this, The Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage. Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
Well, that would be Dr. Michael Savage, my friend. And I am Brian Sussman, filling in for the good doctor. Dr. Savage, of course. Well, everyone listens to his show, including me, and I've been a listener since he had a local show in San Francisco in the mid-'90s. which was, I mean, basically the same show. At times hilarious, always incredibly insightful, and the news and views you just wouldn't hear anywhere else in San Francisco. That was the mid-'90s. And back then, he was Mr. Borders, language, culture. Nothing has ever changed. And isn't it interesting? That's where we are today. Borders, language, culture. That's what this election's all about. Borders, language, and culture. Because you've got Donald Trump. Listen, he's the nominee. Hate to break the news to you, never Trump people, but it's not going to be Gary Johnson. It's not going to be a write-in. It's not going to be Jill Stein. It's either Hillary or Trump. What does Hillary want to do to our borders? She wants to open them. This is part of a push and movement by the ruling of the elites of this world who would like to rule the world, and in many ways do. They want to obliterate the borders. They want open borders. At the end of the day, they'd love a one-world government. Trump wants to define the border. Put up a wall. Use it properly. Make sure people come into this country who want to be here for all the right reasons. Sounds reasonable to me. So you got borders. Language. A common language is essential for a healthy society. Language. It's really important. I don't get this. You know, in order to become a citizen in this country, you have to be proficient in the English language. Why is it when I go to the polls, which I'll be doing in November, last time I went to the polls here in the San Francisco Bay Area where I'm talking to you from, in front of every polling place, there was a sign that said, vote aquí. Vote aquí. Vote here. And then you go to the vote aquí location and you look at the vote aquí pamphlet. Oh, look at this ballot. It's in vote aquí many languages. Probably, I'm just guessing, in San Francisco, the voters' pamphlet that they send out ahead of time must have at least 12 different languages, at least, which costs the taxpayer a lot of money, but that's not the point. That's not the point. The only way you can vote in this country is to be a citizen, right? Okay, I hope I see heads nodding out there. In order to vote, you have to be a citizen. In order to be a citizen, you have to be proficient with the language. Then why in the beep-boop do we have to go out there and accommodate all these people who aren't proficient in English? I don't get it. Unless there could be some fraud going on. Okay, here. That first debate with Trump and Hillary, I pray to God this guy knocks it out of the park. Because there's so much to work with. Like the new WikiLeaks. There's some new leaks. More emails. Oh, my goodness. These emails were sent to and from a certain Diane Reynolds. Who's Diane Reynolds? That would be Hillary's daughter, Chelsea. Can I ask you this question? If there's nothing to hide, why would you be sending emails and receiving emails from your daughter who's going by an alias? Why would you do this? Come on, folks, help me out here. Am I missing something, please? Diane Reynolds. I'm reading some of these emails. I realize there are a lot of pieces missing, but this is a line. This is a line that there's got to be something here. So here is Diane to Cheryl. Cheryl Mills, one of Hillary's, aides. And she's talking about a guy named Paul. And she says, Paul said, thank you. He did what you said, Cheryl, and will keep doing so for the rest of his life. What in the heck? Dun, dun, dun. What's that all about? I don't know. Maybe there's nothing there, but when somebody says they're going to do something for you for the rest of the life, can I just say, generally speaking, that means you did something for them that was really, 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 really big? And then some of these other WikiLeaks emails, I mean, they're just incredible. From and to Diane Reynolds. From and to Diane Reynolds. This is amazing. And I've got some thoughts about the WikiLeaks emails, but here's one. Here's one. Diane Reynolds. Chelsea Clinton. Here's Hillary telling Diane, she's sitting in a meeting in Libya, quote, waiting for the other shoe to drop. So she's emailing her daughter, and she won't use her daughter's name, while in an official meeting in Libya. Then there's another one. Hillary writes to Chelsea, Diane, during the Benghazi attacks, telling her Americans were killed by an Al-Qaeda-like group. And yet, later, it seems to me, Hillary lied and blamed the whole attack on a YouTube video. Crooked Hillary, lying Hillary. There's so much information. Donald Trump, if you can't tee this one up and knock it out of the park, or knock it right past the pin, just knock it all the way across the fairway, right past the pin into the other fairway. You should be able to do that one. Here's Trump. Everyone knows Hillary's guilty. Clip 3, please.
This is out of control, what's going on with our country from the standpoint of justice and, what's supposed to be happening in law and order. And you look at all of these acts where she's 100% guilty. Everybody knows she's guilty. She knows she's guilty. She's lied all over the place. And it's almost like she can just do whatever she wants to do. I think it's so unfair. It's so bad for our country.
She can do pretty much whatever she wants to do because she doesn't have a media going after her except, guys like us, right? I've been wondering about these WikiLeaks email, these WikiLeaks, these emails. And they keep dripping. I mean, like this latest batch. This is damning to Hillary. The media's not picking it up, but more and more people are becoming aware at the same time. We keep being told that the Russians are behind this. I don't know if the Russian government's behind it or not, but what if they were? What if they were? What if they were? Wouldn't this make sense? Perhaps, I'm just speculating here, maybe you'll have a thought of this at 855-400-7282, 855-400-7282. But what if the Russians were indeed behind these hacks into the DNC, Hillary's emails, etc., and they keep leaking these damning little bits and pieces of information? Now, Hillary knows they're leaking this stuff. She's probably losing some sleep over it. She's probably cussing people out and throwing things at the same time. Perhaps the Russians believe she'll be president. They really believe she's got the machine, she's got the money, she's got the media. If you cross her, better watch your back, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink, nod, nod. But, and if something happens, they'll make it look like a suicide. And, they'll put the gun in your right hand when, in fact, you're actually left-handed, and that'll get buried and become lost from the archives. But let's get back to what I'm saying here. Maybe it really is the Russians, because they believe Hillary's going to become president of the United States. And once she becomes president of the United States, they'll be able to let her know, Hillary, we've got all this stuff on you, and we've been giving a little leak, drip, 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 and you know what we got, and we got the big stuff that you don't want anybody to ever know about. So, just to keep you in check and make sure we will always have our way with you, we're not going to release any of this stuff. Blackmail. Couldn't it be? Isn't that a possibility? Why do they have this stuff, and why are they leaking this stuff? Do you think it's because they want Donald Trump to be president? I personally believe it's because they believe Hillary's going to be the president, and once she is, they will be able to play her like a puppet the way she's been playing everybody else. That's my guess. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's nothing here. Maybe we should all just look away. 855-400-SAVAGE. 855-400-SAVAGE. Got another one for you. This is James Rosen from Fox News talking about Uma. She's on the masthead of an Islamic journal based in Saudi Arabia, an Islamic journal that promotes Sharia law. Her mommy is the chief editor of this journal, I believe. So James Rosen is asking, okay, so what's the deal here? She's seen on the masthead of this journal, and she was cleared to work in the State Department. Didn't anybody know about this? I mean, really, when you were vetting her to work for the State Department, how did you guys let this slip through? Take a listen to this exchange, clip 6.
The New York Post has been reporting on the presence of Huma Abedin for more than a decade. on the masthead of an Islamic journal that published some fairly vile things, including blaming the U.S. for 9/11. When Ms. Abedin was cleared to work here in the Department of State, was Ms. Abedin's association with this journal known to the Secretary or to anyone else in this building?
James, I don't have an immediate answer for you on that. I haven't seen these reports, to be honest. What I would say is that we wouldn't normally talk about someone's clearance process, except to say that having gone through security clearance process and considering the level of clearance she would have needed for the job that she held, I can assure you that she was, like any individual would be, fully vetted.
Oh, yes. I can assure you she was fully vetted. Move on. Next story. Done. Fully vetted. I mean, what if she's a plant? What if she's the total plant? And just to make herself, look like she's just as pure as the wind-driven snow, she'll never wear the Islamic garb. She marries a Jewish guy. Hey, nothing to see here. 855-400-SAVAGE is the number. 855-400-7282. The Savage Nation. Go to michaelsavage.com. I highly encourage you to subscribe to the Savage newsletter. You can do it at michaelsavage.com, and also pre-order the new book, the brand new book, which will be coming out officially September 13th, Scorched Earth. Brian Sussman on this, the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Brian Sussman in for Michael Savage. The new book, Scorched Earth. Get a copy now. You can pre-order it. Savage has been prophetic about this. He's been predicting the chaos that is the Obama legacy. Everything you see going on, virtually, he's talked about over these last 7 years as something that would take place. And now it is, right before our very eyes. So he lays out an irrefutable case for how we've been undermined from within and from without. Terrorists from without, anarchists from within. A president, politicians with contempt for the Constitution and the law, and a media that carries water for all of them. So the entire title is Scorched Earth, Restoring the Country After Obama. michaelsavage.com for that. One of the joys of filling in on this program is speaking to you from all parts of the United States. I love it. Absolutely love it. So let's go. We'll begin here with Dave, WJR. So, Dave, we were just talking about immigration and how these same politicians that have got us into this mess are now going to their constituents, both sides of the aisle, say, well, we're going to fix things. We're going to fix things. How can we trust these people?
Well, truthfully, Brian, I don't think you can, because the fact of the matter is it's really simple to fix this. If they applied the same principles that they've got to the drug dealing laws, forfeiture laws, things like that, you'd remove the incentive for people to come to this country illegally. And I'm not against legal immigration, but clearly the illegals, if they couldn't get employment and if they couldn't get housing, they wouldn't stay. And if you made it where if I had a business or if I had a apartment or I had whatever, and I knowingly house or employ an illegal, if I lose my home, just like I would lose it if I had, or my business, like I would lose it if I had, if I sold drugs, I wouldn't do it. It just seems so obvious to me, and it's hard to believe. Even the wall, I don't know why we need a wall. If the border agents were able to focus on truly the people trying to sneak in,
right? If they were allowed to do their job, okay. Dave, you're making a great point. And thanks for making it on the Savage Nation. I mean, a case in point. There are two different laws. If someone in the Savage Nation decided to run a scam where they're using somebody's social security number illegally. Okay, I don't know what the scam would be, but use your imagination. You get caught, I believe that the punishment is 5 years in prison and up to a $250,000 fine. I mean, using someone's social security number is a serious offense. So, Barack Obama, hey, amnesty. You've been using somebody else's social security number? No problem. We'll forgive you. We'll give you a new one that's your very own. Any American getting caught doing that kind of thing, you're in the clinker, federal pen, 5 years, and maybe more in terms of the fine. We make it easy for these people, and they know it, and they're coached upon this. They're coached on this. We have Tim checking in now. Tim, you're a Democrat who's voting for Trump. Tell us why quickly, please. Thanks for calling.
Simple as this. Clinton and the fairness doctrine, freedom of speech, and the right to protect myself. Those are all things, as a conservative Democrat, that I believe in. Trump is a nationalist, in my opinion. That's what we need. We need to reel it in, get our fingers out of everybody else's business, and focus on our sovereignty and our security.
I'm just curious, Tim, have you been a consistent voter in presidential elections?
Yes.
Okay. Well, there you go. Here's a Democrat voting for Trump because of these very issues we're speaking about. Thanks for your call. I really appreciate it. Thanks for being honest. The reason why I asked him if he's been a consistent voter in presidential elections is because I hear from so many people who haven't voted in a long time, for whatever reason, haven't voted in a presidential election for a long time, who are now coming out of the woodwork in order to vote for Donald Trump. Because finally they have somebody speaking their language, so to speak, talking about borders, language, culture, talking about nationalism, talking about America, talking about safety, talking about common sense. That's what a lot of people like, including a lot of Democrats. This is the Savage Nation. Brian Sussman, proud to be filling in.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Dr. Savage is back tomorrow. Brian Sussman filling in. You can pre-order Dr. Savage's new book, Scorched Earth. It'll be another bestseller. He's a prolific writer. And this one, of course, talks about what do we do now? Obama has scorched the earth. Now what do we do? This is the stuff that Savage has been predicting. It's all happened. Now what do we do? And by the way, Savage very hopeful that Trump's going to be the president, because that's one of the cures. The other cure is you the people, we the people. So you can do that at michaelsavage.com. Pre-order. The book comes out September 13th. Also subscribe to the Savage newsletter at michaelsavage.com. Phone number to call in, 855-400-SAVAGE. That's 855-400-7282. I notice a caller on the line right now. This is a guy who is an avid Savage listener. He is also an economist who you've probably seen on the tube before, and you've probably read some of his articles, which are syndicated. Steve Moore joins us right now as a caller. Steve, amazing. You're checking into the Savage Nation. I'm so stoked, and I think our listeners will be also stoked because you're advising Donald Trump on the economy right now, correct?
I am, and if you want to, see a sharp contrast between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, look at the economic programs of what we're proposing in the Trump camp and where Hillary is. I mean, it's night and day. It really is. This is why Michael Savage has it so right. The future of this country's economy depends on not having 4 more years of what we've had for the last 8 years.
Okay, so let's talk about, because you're sitting down with Trump on a regular basis. You're walking him through what you believe to be the right approach for this country. How will the plan that you've created help the average American in this country? What's going to change?
Well, first of all, let's say what's going wrong, and I think most people know that the average American, the middle class workers of America, haven't had a pay raise now for 15 years, and we've just had under Bush and Obama lousy policies that have not really worked for the middle class, and that's why there is a revolt, and that is something that Donald Trump has tapped into, unlike any president or any candidate I've seen in modern times. Now, the heart of our economic recovery plan is, if you want to have jobs, you got to have employers, you got to have businesses. Now, I know Hillary Clinton doesn't understand that, because do you remember, Brian, when she said a year ago that businesses don't create jobs? Remember that one?
Right.
That was about one of the dumbest statements I've ever heard from a politician since Barack Obama said to small businessmen and women, "You didn't build that."
You didn't build that. Yes.
Yeah, but there's been a contempt for business, small businesses and big businesses in this country. In Washington, we've treated them like enemy combatants. The 25 million small businesses, which are the backbone of our economy. So our plan is going to win back jobs by moving America from having the highest business tax rate in the world. Here we are, the land of the free, the center of free market capitalism, and we have the highest tax rate on our businesses, higher than China, higher than Russia, higher than Germany, higher than Mexico, higher than any of these other countries. So we're going to cut our business tax to 15%. So that these businesses don't have an incentive to move out. You've seen Burger King, you've seen Pfizer, you've seen Medtronic, you've seen major American companies leaving because of our taxes. We believe with a 15% tax, those companies are going to come back, and they're going to start creating jobs in America, and in Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, and Virginia, not in Beijing and Mexico City and places like Dublin. Now, there's another component to this, though, that's really important, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
That tax cut is not just going to be for the big businesses like Microsoft and for Apple and for General Electric. Every small businessman and woman, all 25 million of them, will have this tax cut. And as Donald Trump says very well, you know what? When businesses have more money, you know what they do? They hire more workers.
Right on.
So this is going to be a key to economic revival. And by the way, Hillary wants to raise the taxes on businesses.
And so, again, for that guy or gal listening to the program, by the way, a Savage Nation listener and Donald Trump economist Steve Moore on the line with us, for that guy or gal who has a small business, what you're saying is even they will benefit from the proposals that you're putting together for Donald Trump. I like that, but how will even the small business benefit?
Well, two things. First of all, the small businesses will now be taxed at 15%, not as high as 6% under our current system. And by the way, we have the dumbest tax system in the whole world, Brian. Now, you may not believe that. It's possible, but we do. And Trump said it well. He said, our tax system was written like it was written by our enemies, higher than any other country. And also, we do something really stupid, Brian. We tax what we produce here in America, but we don't tax and so when we export something, we tax it. When we import something from China or Mexico, we don't tax it. I mean, how stupid is that? So we tax what's produced by American workers, but we don't tax what's produced by German workers or Chinese workers or Mexican workers. Is it any wonder we're not creating any jobs? I mean,
yes.
So this is going to bring a lot of jobs back to the United States. We're going to change the way we tax, and we're going to make it a lot simpler. We're going to make the tax code. We're going to cut the number of pages of the tax register in half just by simplifying it. And I hear from a lot of people say, look, it's not so much how much I pay in tax. It's so mind-numbingly complex, I can't figure this out. They say it's written like it's in Greek.
Right, exactly. So, again, Steve Moore, I mean, you're consulting Donald Trump. You consulted many of the candidates during the primary. Now you're on Team Trump. I just have to ask you, Donald Trump, of course, has been on Savage's show on many an occasion, even before anybody else was interested in talking about presidential politics. But what was it like for the first time with you to sit down with Trump? I know that he was receptive, but did that receptivity surprise even you?
Well, Donald Trump is really an amazing guy. And I've known a lot of politicians in my lifetime. I'm ashamed to say that, Brian, but I've been in Washington for 30 years. And, I was proud to work for Ronald Reagan. I've known every president. I've worked with governors and senators. I have to say that, Trump has a commanding presence about him. He just has a presidential persona, a take charge kind of thing, which I find very appealing especially after this milquetoast president we've had for the last 7.5 years. And, he keeps talking about putting America first. And I find that to be a highly attractive message. I mean, for too long, we've had a president now who's blamed America for all the problems in the country, in the world. We've had a president who is, these deals with Iran and these climate change deals, all this stuff. All they do is economically disarm the United States. And it's about time that we start putting American workers first. And I have to say this, I don't always agree with Donald Trump. I'm more of a free trade guy than he is. But one of the things I really respect about Donald Trump is that he knows I don't agree with him on trade, although I agree with some of the things he says on trade. But, he says, Steve, okay, well, we can agree to disagree on that one, and, that wouldn't happen with Hillary. Unless you drink the progressive lemonade, lemonade, you're not going to be part of their team. And so he's an amazing businessman. I think his IQ is off the chart. And you know what's really interesting, Brian? he's one of the most charming and delightful people I've ever met in my life. Truly, he's an amazing man. And it's about time we had a businessman, someone who knows how to make things and build things and meet a payroll. I mean, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, they wouldn't know how to start a lemonade stand, for goodness sakes.
So, Steve, when you talk to, there's, the never Trumpers out there, and, it's a matter of principle. Listen, you're a principled guy, and if anything, you're a libertarian. You currently work with the Heritage Foundation. You once worked with the Cato Institute, which is very libertarian. So what do you say to the never Trump people at this point in time?
Well, I say, first of all, it will be a disaster for our country if for the conservative movement and those who believe in the Constitution if Hillary Clinton is elected president. It will be a validation of all of the disastrous things that Barack Obama has done. It will be basically like electing Obama for a third term. We have doubled the national debt, Brian. Can you believe that? In 8 years, Barack Obama has borrowed more money than every president from George Washington through George Bush. I mean, what kind of a record is that? Are we going to basically sign off on that and say to Hillary, keep up? She wants to borrow another $1 trillion, by the way, on top of all the debt that's already baked into the cake. And I've always said there's four C's, the reason you have to vote for Donald Trump. The first C is HC. He's not Hillary Clinton. Number 2 is what I call PC. Political correctness. Donald Trump is going to get rid of the speech police in America, and it's about time. We believe in First Amendment rights in this country. The third C is SC, Supreme Court. There's no other more important reason, Brian, to vote for Donald Trump than to put conservatives on the Supreme Court. You know we have 4 liberals and 4 conservatives on the court, and we know that Antonia Scalia died. Do we really want Hillary Clinton putting some kind of liberal in the Antonio Scalia seat? And TC is tax cuts for America for every business and worker.
I love it. Hey, Steve Moore, Savage listener, checking in. Thanks for calling. Wonderful stuff. That's Steve Moore, consulting for Donald Trump on the economy. Those are reasons enough. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that Joe and Joette Sixpack out there, or Savage likes to refer to them as the Eddies, just regular folks can understand. I want to see our businesses thrive. Everybody should get a tax cut. I mean, you buy a piece of equipment today, guess what? You can depreciate it tomorrow. I love that. You could write it off tomorrow. I love political correctness being eliminated from our speech. Trump is all about that, and he takes all sorts of hell for it on a regular basis. Political correctness sucks. It's sucking away the life of the First Amendment. And then the Supreme Court. It's interesting, friends, when you think about the Supreme Court, and I know there are some who say, well, I don't know what kind of people he's going to select. Can I tell you something? You know who he consulted for Supreme Court nominees? He consulted with the Heritage Foundation. It doesn't get any more conservative than that. And I just received an email today, and maybe thousands of you received it as well. This is from Team Trump. It was put together by Kellyanne Conway. She's the new team leader for Trump. She was the team leader for Cruz. She's a pollster. I mean, one of the questions she asked, would you like to see Supreme Court justices selected by Donald Trump in the mold of Antonin Scalia? Well, I checked off strongly agree. Well, where did that name come from? Where did that thought come? It came from the Heritage Foundation. I mean, that's hugely important. These are life appointments. And then finally, TC, I love that, tax cut. Everybody should get one. Tax cuts. I know that the left says, that takes money out of the Treasury. No, tax cuts stimulate the economy. When you've got more money in your pocket, you're going to go out there and spend more money. That's just the way it works. Or save for your retirement so you don't have to be a burden to society down the line. We'll take more of your calls just around the corner. On this, the Savage Nation, of course, the phone number 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-SAVAGE. Don't forget Dr. Savage on Facebook. And follow him on Twitter at @SavageNation. This is the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
The Savage Nation, Sussman filling in. Here's Trump. Here's Trump on MSNBC. Says it's impossible to figure out where the Clinton Foundation ends and the State Department begins. Ooh, Hillary does not like this one at all. Clip 1, please.
It is impossible to figure out where the Clinton Foundation ends and the State Department begins. It is now abundantly clear that the Clintons set up a business to profit from public office. They sold access and specific actions by and really for, I guess, the making of large amounts of money.
Think about this. You know, the left is all critical of CEOs making millions of dollars. These are people that didn't create a product. Oh, yeah, they give a little money to charity. Some say 10 to maybe 15%. But they made $10 million last year from the charity. The year before that, they made $26 million. Here's James Carville. Used to work in the Clinton administration. A lot of people call him Serpent Head. He said, no, we need the Clinton Foundation. The world needs the Clinton Foundation. Clip 5. Listen to this.
The Clintons never took a nickel out of the foundation. In fact, they gave $1 million. So let's stop. There was not a penny. The second thing is, I'm sorry, but the foundation, negotiated drug prices, reduced malaria drugs by 89%. I don't know how many people that they've been. It is under Charity Watch, a 5-star rated charity. You can't get a higher rating for a charity.
Okay, so here's the deal. Let's cut this guy off, please. Cut him off. It's like he's at the bar. Cut him off. Look at the 2013 tax returns. You dig through those tax returns. They gave about 10 to 15% of their income to charity, the foundation did. But I know it's perfectly legal, but it's just a little stinky. So they give $1 million to charity. That's 10%. The charity is the Clinton Family Foundation, and the Clinton Family Foundation gives to the Clinton Foundation. You know, there are CPAs and tax attorneys listening to the program laughing, saying, that was brilliant. Are you kidding me? Unbelievable. Here's Trump. Here's Trump. Oh, they hate Trump because he says things like this. Clip 7 about Obama.
Well, he went very late. I mean, look, he could have left his golf game. He could have even played early. You know, he could have, played early and gone in the afternoon. I expected that would happen. And for him to say, I want to finish my whole vacation, who gets it? Look, who gets it? It's ridiculous. And now the waters are gone, the floods are gone. There's devastation. I mean, the people are amazing people. But those people deserve to have their president go a lot sooner than he went. And it certainly lost its impact. It was really sad. And it was to play golf. I mean, he wanted to play golf.
That's Trump on Fox News. It was to play golf.